Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate seeing you and the time you take week after week to come ask us questions and help us to keep the community informed. Let's see. So we will start this morning with a progress report from our city manager on recent developments and key milestones. Then we'll do a summary of these updates in Spanish. Afterward, we'll open the floor to questions from the media. When we get to Q&A, we do encourage you to ask your questions, as we will not have time to take additional interviews after the media briefing this morning. And so with that, it is now my pleasure to introduce City Manager Peter Zanoni. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Elisa, and good morning, everyone. I am Peter Zanoni, the City Manager for the City of Corpus Christi, also representing Corpus Christi Water this morning. So we want to thank the media for being here in this room this morning, and for others that may be covering this remotely. In the room with us here this morning, we do have Michael Salazar from Chris 6, Drew Bishop, and Rachel Clow from Chris 6. I want to thank you for being here. And then we have Sandra Meyer is here as well from a YouTube channel, right? So thank you, Sandra, for being here. Texas Coast Life. And we do have, okay, right, that's what we have. Good, so we have, we're going to do our update as we have been doing. I was trying to think how many weeks this has been now that we've been doing this weekly, but this is a weekly briefing on how we're doing on preparation for what could be a level 1 water emergency, and then also informing the community of how we're doing on bringing more water supply on. But before I get into the script itself, let me just try to summarize a little bit here. We're making tremendous progress in 2 fronts. One is developing a plan for a region known as the Coastal Bend region, 7-county region with 20 communities, developing a plan, first of its kind, to be able to manage a level 1 water emergency if we get there. That's not a great thing to highlight, that we could be heading towards a level 1 water emergency, but if we do, this community should feel a lot more at ease because we have a plan to how to get through it. And there is no plan right now. There's a draft of a plan and our drought management plan. But there was never a robust plan. And it was quoted again recently, I think, in the Inside Climate News story from this week. But this organization has no manual. We have no blueprint. We have no video. We have no, this is how we did it the last time to fall back on. So it's taken a tremendous amount of effort, not just from the city staff, but for the city council and for the region. Just yesterday, we met with city managers and administrators from almost 10 communities here in San Patricio County. And so those city managers and administrators and mayors have to help their customers get through this as well, and they're developing plans. So we're working here at City with our city team, city council, a bigger community, the state, the federal government to develop this plan. So the good news is the plan is near complete, and we have a vote of City Council this Tuesday on some of the policy in the plan, and then we'll have 1 or 2 more meetings with the Council to finalize things like surcharges. We're going to probably update what's in the current drought management plan. So tremendous work on developing a robust plan to get through this emergency if we hit it. And then we're making tremendous progress, maybe more importantly, on bringing on more water supply. And so we don't see it much because these guys are working in the field. They're at big tracts of land, drilling wells, laying pipeline, testing water in the Nueces River, working with engineers and designers in our San Patricio County, working with Valero and Flint Hills on our effluent reuse project. A lot of work every week. Some of these firms are working 7 days a week. We are, and groups like Flint Hills is as well. They just told us recently. So a lot of work is being done on bringing on more water supply, and I'll have updated numbers here this morning, but I just want to start there. And then maybe the third thing is the weather is changing a little bit and helping us out. And I don't think we could say that in the past couple of years, but we've seen some beneficial rains, especially in East Texas, that has helped Lake Texana and the Lower Colorado River. And it has helped us here a little bit in terms of at least getting the ground back to a more normal soil moisture content or rating, so that when it does rain again, some of that water will eventually begin to inflow into our western reservoirs. So things are good. I was quoted recently and saying that, you know, things are looking, we have hope, I think is what I said. Things are looking pretty decent. And so I think those three demonstrate that in the midst of this real tough situation, we're making progress on three fronts. Two we control, one we don't. We have a good plan that's almost finalized. Our water sources are coming online every day, more and more. And then the weather is helping us out a little bit. We don't control it, but so I think that's some good news of how we can start today. Let's talk a little bit about lake levels. So Choke Canyon, even with the rain we had this past weekend, really hasn't changed much from a week ago. It's still at 7.5%. Lake Corpus Christi, from a week ago, is still about the same, and from maybe 2 weeks ago, a little bit up by a tenth of a point or so 8.8 at Lake Corpus Christi. So the combined western reservoirs are just below 8% at 7.8% as of this morning. And then the better story, though, at Lake Texana. This is our reservoir in the Edna area in East Texas. That, because of the rains that were there over the weekend and even, I think, Tuesday evening, there was a decent shower there. Lake Texana is at 62% capacity. So that's great because just a few weeks ago it was below 50%. Now, the important thing on Lake Texana is the two trigger points that we have been focused on, which is if it falls below 50%, and more importantly, if it falls below 40%, because that's when we would start taking reductions in water from there. And let's focus on the 40% mark, because the governor, and we thank him, Governor Abbott, worked with the Lavaca-Navidad River Authority to waive the 50% curtailment for this city, for CCW. And so if we were curtailed, it would be at 40% based on Governor Abbott's work. So 40% based on the level of the lake today and their typical use won't be until August, which is good, because before it would have been, I think it was much sooner. So yeah, we'll have a better update next week. So August is the 40% trigger. So this is how the system works. When we do get rain, it prolongs what could look like a curtailment or a supply-demand gap. Okay, and let's talk a little bit about our City Council workshop now. So that was a quick summary on our lake levels. They're looking better than what they were last week at the report. So what we want to do now is recap a little bit about what City Council covered this Tuesday, and it was a second meeting from a workshop they had a few weeks ago. And so a lot of work has been done, and we will be working with the community and working through the media, and we appreciate the media being here. KIII is here as well, because we really have to collectively make sure the residential customers and commercial customers know what this plan means. We know large volume users know it because there's fewer of them. There's about 20 large volume users, 20 petrochemical companies, 20 companies that include Valero and Flint Hills and Citgo. And so we're talking to 20 plant managers, and that's it. And so the 20 folks there can easily understand what's going on. But when you're talking about 90,000 accounts or 500,000 people, it's a lot more work to make sure they have good information and they understand it, and we know that. And so over these next several weeks and months, we really collectively, and I'm asking the media for help as well, we got to make sure we're educating our residents and commercial account holders, our business owners, so they know what this plan means, because we don't want to scare them thinking they have to do one thing when in fact they don't. Right. So I'm going to go over this here this morning, but the point is these are some of the summary, and then we'll continue to work week after week. We have community meetings scheduled. We're doing small conversations with groups at like coffee shops or what were some of the examples? Schools. Yeah, we're going to classrooms. We're going to coffee shops, community events, apartment complexes. So we're doing smaller venues each week, and then we'll have larger venues as well. But let me kind of summarize what the council did this week. So City Council this week did receive and didn't have any problem with, or I shouldn't say it that way, didn't have any objection to or amendments to the curtailment percentage, and that's 25%. And so if we go into a level 1 water emergency, the curtailment percentage that would have to be cut, and it's not cutting what you're using today, but it's against a baseline, and I'll go over that next. The curtailment percentage is 25%, and that's a conservative number. In other words, it probably could have been a little lower, but we want to be conservative and make sure we're not saying here and then we have to come back and go higher. So 25% is the curtailment percentage. Now, for the 4 customer classifications that we have, that is residential, commercial, large volume, and wholesalers. A wholesaler is another water district that sells the water to other entities. The council established baselines based on averaging from years ago. So it's not based on today's use or even last year's use, because we know most of our customers reduced consumption over the past 2 years. So we're going back to 22, 23, 24 to develop the baseline. It's based on, in that 3-year period that has 36 months, it's based on 24 of those months. We take out the lowest 12 months so that the baseline is robust. So the baseline that the council saw and will approve this Tuesday is 7,000 gallons of water for the residential customer. We've been saying it for years. The average residential customer uses 6,000. So the baseline set higher on purpose to make sure our residential customers have relief when we apply a curtailment percentage. In that amount of 7,000, only 13% of our customers would exceed that, or do exceed it, either exceed it now or could in the future. So that's about 11,000 accounts are using more than 7,000. So you can see the vast majority of our customers really won't have to change their behavior much, because they've already done it over the past 2 years. They're already in this mindset and operating homes with less water. And so 7,000 is the measure there. Multifamily units is another kind of a semi-classification, so apartment complexes. They are essentially a commercial account, and so we're going to set up individual baseline accounts for all the apartment complexes. We're going to set up baseline accounts for all commercial accounts, as maybe a better way of saying it, and that includes apartment complexes. There's about 9,000 account holders or accounts. And so we'll set up a baseline similarly using similar methodology of 21, 22, 23 data. And that 36 months, we'll take out the lowest 24 and set the baseline. And there'll be a whole process on how this gets set up, and that'll be coming out soon. For our wholesale customers, and we do have 8 of those, that includes San Patricio Water District, South Texas Water Authority, cities like Alice, Mathis, and Beeville. We recommended the council a better baseline methodology than what's in the current plan, which really would have given them less water. And so we're going to use the years of 22, 23, 24, and similarly take out the lowest 12 months and then set their baseline. And that's the same for the large volume users, same concept. We have 8 large volume users as a customer of the city. San Patricio Water District has 11, and some of the other wholesalers may have 1 or 2. But same thing, where we'll look at 3 years of data, 22, 23, 24, take out the lowest 12 months, that's the baseline. And so the curtailment then is achieved by taking the baseline and reducing it by 25%, and what you get is the allotment. And these may be some new words for our community, but the allotment is what folks need to focus on. And so the allotment for our residential customer will be 5250, 5,250 gallons. That's for the average home that doesn't have an exemption that they might file for. But today, our residential customers are already using, on average, less than that. Right? This is why the message of it's not everybody has to go home today and cut water use by 25%, because most likely we're already there, the residential customer. And so what we do need to do, though, and what we are going to help the community on is, how do I know how much water I'm using? How do I know? Some customers don't know how to do that today, but we're going to help them make sure they know how. There's several ways. You can look at your bill. You can look at your water meter. You can install a smart meter, and you can look in your phone and find out. But I would say that most of 70%, I think is the number, use 5250 or less. 70% of our customers today residential customers use 5,250 gallons a day, a month or less. So not much change has to take place there. For those households that might use more, they will have to maybe look at some adjustments on how to reduce water consumption, or if it's a circumstance where the family is bigger, more children maybe, they may have in-laws or other family members living with them, and that's been the pattern for some time. We want them to come talk to us, and we'll get them through an exemption process and set up a different baseline for them. And so that's some of the conversation we've heard, and we appreciate the media covering some of it. I've heard some of it through the media, like Chris Six, which is comments like, well, I have a bigger family, and I'm definitely using more than 5250. What do we do? And so what we'll do is we'll set up an exemption form with them. We have one online right now, but we're going to be improving it, and there'll be a whole process of how we work through exemptions, and then we'll set a different baseline for homes that have historically used more water than the 5250 for good reason, because they have more family members there living with them. So all that deals with the allocation. So the allocation for the residential customer was that. Our allocation for commercial accounts, if you're a restaurant owner, if you own a hotel, if you're a school, if you're in Nueces County. I want to thank Judge Scott, who today is meeting right now with elected officials at Nueces County. They're looking at how do we reduce 25%. And Judge Scott is taking this seriously. They may actually start reducing now, just to be good leaders, good examples in our community. And so these accounts, we'll set up individual baselines for them based on usage data. And then times 25%, we'll set up an individual allocation for all the commercial accounts. The same exists for the wholesale and industry customers, same concept. Develop a baseline, multiply by 25%, you got a new allotment. That's what, if we go into the level 1 water emergency, that's what you have to live within. So I said it yesterday on an interview on one of the TV stations here, but essentially the result of the allocation method is that we have to save or not use about 15.7 million gallons the minute we declare a level 1 water emergency. And we know that that time right now is scheduled for September of 2026. That's what our model shows. And that's on our website, by the way. That replaces the 5 prior models that we have. But if we declared a level 1 water emergency, the effect is we have to drop demand by 15.7 million. That water demand drop is primarily coming from large volume users. And that was made evident Tuesday at our briefing with council. It's on our slides. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it here again. Most of that water is coming from large volume customers as customers of the city. That's 7.5 million. And then 7.7 million would come from our wholesale providers. And the biggest one there that really is going to make the difference is Sampat Water District. And if you look at their account holders, they're primarily selling water to their 11 large volume users like Exxon and others. So when you total 7.5 and 7.7, that's over 15. And that would be coming from large volume users. And so on our graphs, we had a 0 showed for residential, because we don't expect much demand drop from residential because they've already done it for the past 2 years. And we do have a slight, about a 500,000 gallon a day reduction from commercial account holders. And we'll figure that out over these next couple of weeks with them. We also covered I'm going to just change now to some other restrictions that we reconfirmed with the council that's in the current drought management plan. So car washing would be prohibited from municipal water sources. Alternate sources like capturing water from rain, drilling wells, or bringing in water somehow from some other location could be used. Just to make sure people understand, there's a quick quack car wash as an example. today they use municipal water, they're one of our customers. They would not be able to operate in a level 1 water emergency using city water. So the only way a quick quack could operate is by getting alternate water sources. And that includes things like drilling a well, bringing in water from San Antonio or something, right? So we have to work with them. We already have a call out to their CEO. We know him. We've spoken to him before when we were developing the drought management plan about a year ago. There's a few other big commercial car washes here as well. So car washes would be prohibited. One of the council members, Councilman Scott, asked about, can we still wash a vehicle with a bucket? And so we're going to talk to council to see if there's enough consensus in the council to change that. Similarly, the mayor wanted us to reconsider, the council to reconsider the approved policy of not being able to wash a boat. And we'll have that conversation with council to see if there's enough consensus amongst the 9 voting members to see if they want to change that in the plan. Right now, the plan only allows for motor flushing, right? You hook up a hose to the motor and clean out the inside of it. But right now, washing the boat's prohibited. Then we'll have that policy conversation with council to see if they want to change it. Swimming pools are allowed. We do encourage our customers that buy water from us to cover the pool if they're not using it. It doesn't have to be a complete pool cover. Even things like floating furniture, those foam things can help reduce evaporation. So pools, though, are allowed. New construction of new pools are allowed. The city's building a pool, as we recall, at Hillcrest. And so new construction is allowed. The Hillcrest pool is a mandate from the federal government, but still the new pools are being constructed. We did not recommend to City Council we put any type of moratorium on new home construction with new meters or new commercial accounts with new meters. And so there's no moratorium on new development where a new water meter would be needed. The city's pool schedule was released on Tuesday, and we'll be putting out a memo and media releases here in these coming days. But essentially, the pool and splash pad operations are pretty consistent with last year. We have 6 different pools with not exactly the same days of the week schedule. So whatever they were open last year, the days of the week, that still will remain in this pool season. But in those 5 or 6 days, there will be a reduction of hours each day to come up with about a 25% reduction in operating hours in our pools. In our splash pads, we have 5 splash pads, and we're going to open all the splash pads for our hardworking families, and it'll be on the same schedule that we had last year, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule. Same hours, I think it's 8 to 8, something like that. Okay, so those are some of the other policy issues. We talked about this already, but the timeline for the level 1 water emergency is based on our real robust model. We need to thank Carollo engineers who have been great partners with us in developing this. This is unprecedented territory. I asked the team today, has any other city had to develop a water model like that? And I think the answer is no. Right, so we're thankful for Carollo and some of their professionals that really are helping this community. So the most recent scenario that's on our website now shows a level 1 water emergency for September of 2026. That's where it is forecasted that water supply won't be enough to meet demand 6 months from that point. So it's not, so the September is not when you have a supply demand issue, it's that 6 months from that point. And that point would be, I think, what was that, April? We have it here, but it's 6, is it April? Yeah, April. April of 27 is when that event would take place, but we would declare the supply-demand gap in September. Now, we did tell the council, and we want listeners to know here that we'll be updating that forecast no less than 30 days. So at least every 30 days we'll update it because things change. And then if there's an event in that 30-day period or events that necessitate us updating it again, we'll do that as well. So as an example, if we have a real robust rain event and our western reservoirs rebound somehow, then we'll update the forecast, obviously. So that September most likely won't be the level 1 water emergency date. We talked about community engagement. The mayor brought this up, and calling it a program is a good kind of conceptual framework. We are developing robust programs to help educate all customer classes, especially our residential customers, because there's more of them. There's 90,000 accounts, and so we have to talk to 90,000 families directly or indirectly, and we appreciate the media helping us to do that. We'll have town hall meetings. We have already scheduled 7 of them. We have 5 city council districts, but we have 2 more remote areas of our community. That is the islands. That'll be the 6th meeting, and then we have a more remote Cal Allen Northwest area. So we'll do a special meeting up there for them. Those begin on May 11th, and we'll go through the summer. And those will be a great way for the community just to come out and make sure they understand everything. We'll have a real good program. That's one of the things we've done since I've been here, is making sure that we have robust ways to get out and talk to the community. And so we'll use some of the concepts that have worked real well already in other initiatives that we've done. Okay, I'm going to go kind of quick here so the media can have some time for questions, but just an update on our water projects. So this is good news where work continues on Evangeline, which is our groundwater project in San Patricio County. It's on a 23,000-acre ranch. That work is more than 60% designed, and it'll be 100% designed in July of this year. Deliveries of pipe and other material are coming to the scene, to the job site. Today, about 7,000 linear feet of 36-inch pipe is there on site. Nearly 5,000 linear feet of 48-inch pipe is on site. It comes in every day from manufacturing sites in South Carolina and in Texas, north of Dallas. We have an important meeting with an administrative law judge this coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock. It's a virtual meeting. At least the judge will be virtually conducting the meeting. There will be a physical location at the San Patricio County temporary courthouse in Sinton. And the lawyers for the sellers of the water rights will be there in the room. And we believe the protestants and their lawyers will be there in the room as well. It's going to be in the Commissioner's Court room in the annex building. The courthouse is under construction, and so they're using that temporary facility. So there, in person, will be the applicant and the lawyers, and the protestants and the lawyers, and then the judge will be remoted in from the Houston area, I believe. But that hearing starts at 1 o'clock. Hopefully by then we'll have information. We just don't have it yet from the district, the groundwater district, or the judge. We want to know, are there links that the media can log into, that we can log into here at City Hall? We just don't have that answer yet, but today, maybe we'll get it today. But as soon as we get it, we'll share it with you, because we think that's real important, that people don't have to drive to Sinton to watch the event. So anyway, the event is at there. The administrative law judge will see, do the protestants have standing? It is anticipated that there won't be a ruling that day, according to the lawyers that are working with us. It could happen then, but it most likely will happen sometime thereafter. Our Nueces groundwater program continues real well. We know about the Easton well field. 4.5 million gallons of water is being discharged into the river, which is the temporary conveyance system. So we're leaving about 5.5 million gallons unproduced. The Weston well field today, as of today, has 7 wells completely online that could produce 10 million gallons. And on this well field, we're doing better. The water quality is better, so we're able to discharge over the last 7 days on average about 8.7. So a better report than what I gave us last week, which was about 66% of the available water could be discharged. Things are looking better this week. We have about 8.7 million of the 10.7 million is being discharged. We continue to drill wells there. The driller is back on site. We let them go to Beeville. Our driller went to Beeville, where they drilled the well for Beeville. They're back on site now, and the other drill rig it had some issues and has been repaired. So we'll have 2 teams continuing to drill the remaining wells there on the Western well field. The seawater desalination is just a couple quick updates on it. So we know that the vote for the Inner Harbor seawater desalination contract for 60% design services with Corpus Christi Desal Partners is scheduled for June 2nd. That's Tuesday, June 2nd. And the reason it was moved 30 days is so the Far Field Committee could finalize their work with Spheros Environmental, and that work's coming along good. They had a meeting yesterday. There's 2 more in May, and then a final presentation in May. So a total of 3 in May, still to take place with the committee and Spheros. And then on June 2nd, the report will be presented to the council as well. For those that don't know, the Far Field model is essentially an environmental assessment of salinity levels and water temperature in the bay, and it answers the question, will the Inner Harbor desal facility that produces 30 million gallons impact salinity levels and temperature, which can lead to things like hypoxia, which is an oxygen depletion zone. And so that work's beginning. There's 19 members that are working with the city and Spheros on that. The Harbor Island project that that Nueces River Authority, is managing. There's an important date that was announced earlier this week, and that is the TCEQ public hearing on the discharge permit for the Inner Harbor Nueces River Authority desalination facility. That meeting is scheduled for May 27th. And the location, I believe, is at the what was it called? What is it? Ortiz. Yeah, the Ortiz Center. So that's an important date. You can go and speak to the commission on support or objections on the discharge permit. I believe that one is discharging, not believe, but that one is discharging into the Gulf. And so, but still there may be some concern from residents. And so that has been set. And then also the Nueces River Authority's next scheduled board meeting is May 15, so that's coming up. Barney Davis, I'm going to be meeting today with CPS Energy CEO Rudy Garza, who's in town, and this city council approved an MOU that says the city staff should work with CPS staff to develop concepts. CPS will be telling me today what his board, the CPS Board of Directors, said in an executive session in terms of do they want to reciprocate and do that. And so we'll find that out today. And then CC Polymers desal facility work continues. That is a take-or-pay contract that we're working on there. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up here, so we'll have time for questions. And the next steps coming up, just as I've mentioned some of these already, but today there is a Water Conservation Planning Committee meeting at 11 a.m. here at City Hall. Next week, City Council will consider approval of the methodology to develop baselines and also the curtailment percentage. We'll continue to discuss surcharges, that is an increased price in water to economically drive down demand. We'll do those in May with the City Council, and we will be back next Friday for another weekly update. And we'll probably most likely be talking with the media dependent on what happens Tuesday at the San Patricio County Groundwater Conservation District contested case hearing, or not contested case hearing, but a hearing on standing. So that'll be the next event. Okay, so with that, we're going to have Gabby do some Spanish translation, and then we'll be back for questions.
Sobre el suministro de agua y actualización de los proyectos, los niveles de los lagos y el estado de la sequía. La capacidad actual, los envases occidentales combinados, Chow Canyon y el lago de Corpus Christi se encuentran al 7.8% de su capacidad. El lago Tejana está al 57%. Las lluvias recientes ayudaron a saturar el suelo seco, pero solo aumentaron los niveles combinados en 0.1%. Las condiciones de sequía siguen siendo graves. El taller del Consejo Municipal llevado a cabo el pasado martes fue sobre la emergencia por agua nivel 1, en caso de que esta llegue a suceder. Entre los temas tratados se incluyeron las metodologías para determinar las líneas base de consumo, el porcentaje de restricción al 25% y los recargos aplicables. Para nuestros clientes residenciales, el personal técnico recomendó establecer una línea base fija de 7,000 galones mensuales. Cabe destacar que solo el 13% de nuestras 91,000 cuentas residenciales superan actualmente esa cantidad. La mayoría de los residentes tendrán que hacer poco o nada para reducir su consumo de agua en el hogar en caso de que sean puestas estas restricciones. Las asignaciones para las cuentas comerciales se personalizarán en función del consumo actual registrado en sus medidores. El Consejo realizará una votación para sentar las nuevas normas el próximo 28 de abril. Las cuentas comerciales e industriales. Las líneas bases se personalizarán utilizando los datos históricos del periodo 2021 al 2024. Estas son algunas restricciones que se han propuesto por el Concilio si se declara la emergencia por agua a nivel 1. Quedarán prohibidos el riego de jardines y el lavado de automóviles. Se permitirá seguir llenando las piscinas para preservar su integridad estructural. El lavado de los motores de lanchas a motor seguirá siendo aceptable, aunque se recomienda la recuperación del agua siempre que sea posible. El lavado de automóviles comerciales estaría prohibido. Sin embargo, se podrán utilizar fuentes de agua alternativas, tales como agua recuperada, pozos privados y agua de lluvia. También se permite la construcción de piscinas nuevas. Las piscinas municipales al aire libre operarán con un horario reducido de un 25% y se utilizarán nuevas cubiertas para piscinas con el fin de minimizar la evaporación. Las áreas de chapoteaderos o splash pads funcionarán de viernes a domingo de manera similar al horario del año pasado. También quedará prohibido todo riego de céspedes y jardines. El riego de plantas en macetas sigue estando permitido. A la fecha está estimado que el nivel 1 de emergencia pudiera entrar en vigor en el mes de septiembre, pero daremos al menos 30 días de anticipación antes de que esto suceda. Y vamos a actualizar cada 30 días esa información en caso de que la lluvia cambie la situación. En cuanto a los proyectos de suministro de agua, las aguas subterráneas de Evangeline, el diseño está al 100% previsto para dar comienzo en el 2026. El objetivo para la entrega parcial de agua, 4 millones de galón por día, es para noviembre del 2026. Como recordatorio, el Distrito de Conservación de Aguas Subterráneas de San Patricio ha designado a un juez de derecho administrativo para presidir la audiencia preliminar el 28 de abril, en el marco de la audiencia de permisos para determinar la legitimación procesal. La audiencia va a dar comienzo a la 1 de la tarde. Ese juez va a revisar 3 objeciones y determinará si cada uno de los objetores posee legitimación procesal. Sobre las aguas subterráneas de Nueces, los campos de pozos orientales y occidentales están produciendo actualmente hasta 14 millones de galones por día en conjunto. Para el mes de mayo tendremos el resultado del estudio Fairfield que nos dirá qué impacto ecológico pudiera tener la planta de desalinización. La ciudad va a organizar también varias sesiones informativas por distrito para ayudar a todos los residentes a dar seguimiento a todas estas notas e información sobre el agua.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. Okay, so at this point, we'll take any questions that the media might have. We have a microphone there, yep.
Morning, Peter.
Morning, Drew.
Drew Bishop, Channel 6 News. You mentioned communication, talking with those residents, specifically the 30% that are over that 5250 threshold.
Right.
You mentioned us as a kind of a tool to get that communication out, that your team is also working on that. Can you kind of elaborate on that, some of the plans that your team has to communicate with those residents, not only just in general, but through things like the exemption process that you mentioned?
Right, yeah, thank you, Drew. And Drew Bishop from Chris 6 is asking that. So the question is, what are some of our initial plans to engage our residential customers? And so one is making sure they understand water use. How much are they using today? I was talking to a few residents last night, and they said, I really don't even know how much water I use. And so the city has, at all of our water meters, we were one of the first cities in Texas to use a frequency system where the amount of water is transmitted with radio frequency to a computer system. We have that data on how much each customer is using. We're in the process of developing a portal where it'll be easy to see. They'll type in their account and they'll see how much water they've used to date, how much they expect to use, how much the system expects to use by the remainder of the time. So that is a more detailed example, but step one is making sure they know how to read their consumption and know how much water they're using. Even before that, I should say, one of the things we have to do is make sure they understand some of these basic concepts of things like baselines, curtailment percentages, and allocations. So just the general concepts about what are we trying to do, making sure they understand that will be important, making sure they understand how to read their water meter or water usage, making sure they have access to information of how can I conserve water at my home. And then the exemption process, if some of them need a different baseline, how do I get that? And who do I call? What do I fill out? How do I get that? So there's many steps in this process. Collectively, it will be an effort, a program, an effort of 1, education, 2, access to good information, and then 3, communication. How do we change the dynamics if we have to? And then making sure they understand the bigger picture, that this is the effects of a very significant drought and a system that's being replaced with one where in the future we will never be back at this spot.
Thank you. And I want to ask another question in relation to hospitals, because I know that's something that came up in Tuesday's water workshop. The city's been in discussions with hospitals about what water uses would qualify for a waiver under level 1 emergency. Have you guys, the city, determined yet what hospitals would be required to cut? And among those discussions, is it possible hospitals would make a determination that elective surgeries would need to be canceled?
Right, yeah, thank you. Drew Bishop from Chris 6 is speaking specifically on hospitals. So we are meeting with groups of customers, and hospitals is kind of a grouping, a classification. They were one of the first stakeholders that we met with to talk about this water, level 1 water emergency. They will apply for an exemption. We have a few primary hospitals here in our region, plus minor facilities. And so we're already working with them to make sure they know how to fill out an exemption process, which will pretty much exempt them from allotments or curtailments. We know that hospitals, as one of our council members has said, is a life safety, it's a critical business, if you will, that needs water. And so we're already steps ahead with the hospital group here in our region, and we expect that they will fill out a exemption form and won't have to curtail. We are not going to tell them how to reduce their water use, though. We're not in the business of doing that. And so nobody here is saying you got to cut back on surgeries or you have to cut back on specific procedures. That's their business to figure out. But we think that our dialogue with them, led by our fire chief in recent times, is getting them set up real well where they will be exempt from extreme or any curtailments, really. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. Peter, I want to dig into business a little bit because
Okay.
we understand this is incredibly complex.
Right.
Some businesses may have more than one water meter. And I know that the question has been, can we take the aggregate of our water meters, because maybe at this meter it's easier to reduce to 30 or 40%, but maybe not at this meter. Is the city considering that? And then also, would the city follow suit? So would you take the aggregate of all the water that the city uses and reduce by 25? Or is it gonna be at a meter by meter specific site?
Right, yeah, good question by Rachel Clow of Chris 6, and Nick's here with me, so he'll correct if I say something wrong, but Nick's our Chief Operating Officer. But the issue of having multiple accounts for a business or even a home, I spoke to a resident last night that said, I have a meter for my house and I have a meter for the garage and garage apartment. But let's stick with the businesses for a moment. So businesses may have multiple meters, as does the county. This is another good example. In speaking with Judge Scott yesterday and the day before. And so the concept of aggregating to have one allocation and you work the different accounts to achieve that goal, I think is going to be okay.
We're going per meter, Peter.
Are we going per meter?
Per meter, but if they want to file an exemption, it's
Okay.
in that case we consider.
Okay, so there'll be just a few more steps to say, yes, we can do this. But the goal is to reduce water use. And so if somebody that has 3 meters says, I'm going to do it in this way, they just need to talk to us about that, have that on file through an exemption form. But a more recent example just from yesterday, Judge Scott, who is working with her elected officials right now, they have a whole page of meters, the whole page of accounts at the jail, at senior centers, at clinics, at the courthouse. And so one of the concepts we talked to her about is, can they aggregate and take water from a source that's not as critical and leave the water where it's real critical, like at the jail, right? And so the notion of aggregate is something we're willing to do, and we just have to make sure we have a process to do it. So hopefully that answers the question.
I'm going to pivot now to the conveyance line from the Western well field. On Tuesday, that conveyance line coming online in December was part of the projection that went into the level 1 water emergency in September.
Right.
There are still things that the city hasn't obtained. For instance, the county has not yet granted the easements. There are public meetings that need to be held. I don't believe TCEQ has issued its permit, at least they hadn't as of April 1st. What potential delays could impact that December timeline? And then how does that impact the level 1 water emergency?
Right, okay. Rachel Cloud from Chris 6 is asking about a component of our Nueces groundwater program, which is we will be about a year from now processing 24 million gallons of that water through a reverse osmosis system, taking out some of the salinity. The modular system will be at our own Stevens water treatment plant, which is about 13 miles from the western Nueces groundwater well fields. So we're building a 13-mile pipeline conveyance system, and our projections are it will be fully built by December of this year. That will help us in two ways. One, we won't have to worry about the bed and banks water quality management program that's prohibiting us from discharging 40+% of the water today. So we'll be able to convey 100% of it through the pipeline because there's no TCEQ permit to be following. But the question is, what happens if it's not done on time, and how is it coming along? So we do know that the 13 miles goes through some county right-of-way and some TxDOT right-of-way. We have to go under a highway. What we do know is we have good working relationships with Nueces County, with Judge Scott and the commissioners, and we have good working relationships with TxDOT and TCEQ, who has to do some permitting. Right now, there's no indication that anything is going to throw this projection off track. This Tuesday at Nueces County Commissioners Court, Nick will be over there presenting to the commissioners about the project, making sure we have their full support because some of the boring is in their right of way. Some of the right of way. Okay, sorry, April 30th, not next week. That's not next week? Oh, it is next week. Okay, what day is it next week?
I think it's Thursday.
Thursday? Okay, Thursday, April 30th, Nick will be over there. But just to get to the answer here, so we don't foresee any. But if there is something that delays that, what Rachel was saying is that our forecast of the September timeline assumed that pipeline would be in place by December. So what could happen if it's not built by then is we'll still be able to convey the water to the processing plant, Owen Stevens. It may just be less of it, and so. Right now, as I mentioned earlier today, with our 7 wells, we're doing 8.5 million gallons, and so we're leaving 1.5 million gallons unproduced, and so that would be the impact. It would be a loss of volume in millions of gallons a day if the pipeline's not built in time. That pipeline's 13 miles. We do have multiple contractors by design building segments of it. So that we can get it done in that time frame. So a good question. We'll keep you posted after next Thursday's Nueces County. We think that Commissioner Mike Pusley, who represents the area, will be supportive of it. We know he and Judge Scott and other commissioners know how critical this groundwater program is for water security for the 7-county region. So we expect a favorable outcome from them next Thursday.
Hi, Mr. Zanoni. Good morning. Natalia Suna, KIII 3 News. Just asking a little bit further, I know you mentioned that communication is key in this whole process to, explain to different types of water users how this is going to work come in September or down the road. When we talk about, we've gotten questions about not only how folks can read their water bill or see how much water they're using, but if the city is working on any type of program or any effort to help them find ways to measure that, whether that be in their water meter or another way, with, like you said, a smart meter, and not only find but fund these. I know that they can be more expensive at times than other traditional methods.
Right, great. Thank you, Natalia. So Natalia from KIII is asking, how can a customer, especially a residential customer, know how much water they use? And so there's several ways today that can be done. One is the most accurate, which is going out into your yard, finding your water meter and reading it. The second way is using your bill. We send bills out monthly. On the bills, it does show how much water is used. Right now, though, it's in thousands. And so if you look at your bill, like somebody sent me one yesterday and it said 4 was used for the prior month. And so if you add 3 zeros, that's 4,000 gallons. And so our bill is near complete in terms of an extreme makeover. We started months ago, a year ago, I think, really, on making this bill that we have had. We've had the same template for years. It's not user-friendly. It's hard to read. It's not clear to the average customer. So the new bill format is coming out soon. That'll be a better way for customers to better understand how much water they're using. We're going to take it a couple of steps further. We have all the data from the meter at the home. It's transmitted remotely, electronically to a computer system. The software that reads that data is not customer friendly in terms of water usage. It's more for billing. So we're in the process right now working with our IT director, Peter Collins, and his team to develop a simple portal where a customer will set up an account using their water account, and they can go online on their phone or on a computer and see just a couple of things on an easy to read screen. One is, if I type in my account today, how much water have I used since the beginning of the billing cycle? How much water, based on a formula, am I projected to use in the remainder of the billing cycle? And then some other stats may be on there as well, but just real simple, easy to understand module that we're putting together so that customers can have this. Another way, as you mentioned, and I mentioned it here at City Council, there's a number of applications or devices that one can purchase, and they were really designed and sold for leak detection. The leak detection devices, and you put them on your meter, and you can have an application on your smartphone. They also, though, tell you how much water you're using at the second it's being used. And so we're working with one of the companies, and we may work with several of them to see if we can get discount pricing. We're looking at rebates, like San Antonio Water System did. One particular product called Flume, F-L-U-M-E. If you go on their website, it's about $250. And to the mayor's point, we're not telling residents you have to go spend hundreds of dollars. Because we're going to have that online system free, and that's coming out soon. In fact, we're going to look at a prototype today. So you don't have to spend any money, but if you want more technology, more information, if you want leak detection, then we're going to look at these other systems that customers can purchase, but we're also going to call the companies to see, look, we expect a lot of these to be sold there, so we want a discount, and we can look at a rebate as well. So those are 3 of the ways that we're doing that. We, of course, have our call center. If you dial 311, the city has a call center that has experts, especially in water. That's another way to navigate yourself through, just general concepts about my water use, water bill, that type of thing.
Thank you. And another question, when we talk about the variance or exemption forms, how will the city go through those? I know you said it's a case-by-case basis. It's not one size fits all. So how will the city go through those for all types of customers as well? I know maybe some residential customers will be inclined to apply for that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Natalia. So Natalia from KIII is asking for the exemption form. How's all that going to work, right? So we do have an exemption form online today, and we're going to be modifying it slightly to make it even more user-friendly, have drop-down box menus, that type of thing. We also have a small team right now of city employees that do this type of work, but we're going to have to grow that team significantly. Either internally hire more folks or have a third party help us. One thing we don't want is long call wait times on help calls on how to fill out the exemption form. So we'll have clear directions, clear points of contact, and we're going to be staffing up to manage these exemptions. We encourage them. We don't want any customer to think they're being punished by this unfortunate drought. And so we're going to go above and beyond, as we're doing this morning, to communicate. And when it comes to exemptions, we're going to go above and beyond to make sure we're taking care of our customers that have extreme concerns. And so there'll be an exemption form team, if you will, human beings, that'll help with the form application, filling it out, interpreting it, that type of thing. And the form is available now, but it doesn't need to be submitted now because we're not in a level 1 water emergency. But we're going to be improving it over these next couple of days and weeks so that if we do have to use it, it'll be ready.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, Drew Bishop again, Channel 6 News. So Peter, when I speak with residents and business owners, the sentiment that I get is urgency. They want more time to plan for the potential of level 1 water emergency. I know on the City Council's agenda for Tuesday, you have the allocation percentage that's going to be voted on. But with individual things like the boat motors, the car washes, all the little things that go into level 1 water emergency, what is your sense on when you guys will have a definitive vote from council on all the elements of restrictions in a level 1 water emergency so that residents and business owners can prepare?
Yeah, great. Good question, Drew. So Drew Bishop from Chris 6 is asking about just the urgency and the completion of these plans so residents or commercial accounts or large volume users can have predictability. So we do have time, which is a good thing. And so September is the forecasted trigger date for 6 more months before supply doesn't meet demand. So between now and September is how many months? 5, okay. Okay, so we have nearly 12 months to get ready for the end of that 6-month period, for the end of that curtailment, that trigger date, level 1 water emergency. We have 5 months before we could hit a level 1 water emergency, and then the 6 months before supply doesn't meet demand. But we have sufficient time. So the goal with City Council is in May, there's 3 council meetings, and we hope to get all the issues resolved by May, hopefully by the 2nd meeting. But there's a 3rd meeting in May. And so things like what is the curtailment, what is the surcharge amount? Can I wash my boat or not? What about vehicles? Those are the last lingering questions, I believe. So all the other fundamental components are complete. This Tuesday, Council will approve how we develop the baseline and what the percentage of curtailment is. That gets us to the allocation. We have the exemption process underway. We're developing modules for consumer access to usage of water. And so really the only few remaining pieces are, can I wash my boat or not? Can I wash my car or not with a bucket? And then what is the surcharge? So those are coming up soon, Drew. So we do know that. We do. One reason we're doing this so soon, which is causing a little concern in the community because they're thinking they have to cut use today or tomorrow. This is called extreme planning so that we're going to be ready 5 months from now if we do have to declare a level 1 water emergency. Thank you.
So Peter, we've talked, you're aware of concerns from Nueces County residents and neighboring cities about the city's well fields. Last month, Mr. Winkleman spoke at the CCASRCD meeting. We should come up with a better acronym. And he said that the city had funds set aside for well mitigation and that the program would address impacts ranging from lowering a well pump to drilling a new well. So what the residents want to know is, given these statements, does the city have a written plan outlining how residents and neighboring cities can formally document their concerns, and what do they need to do right now to make sure they're on record with their concerns?
Right, and I'm going to have Nick come up because I know Rachel Clow from Chris 6 is asking, and last week I didn't do the best job answering the question from last week, so it's still out there. So the question from Rachel Clow is, in our Nueces groundwater project, there are concerned residents that are worried that the drilling and the production of water will impact their wells or their livelihood. And the question is, what type of written assurances do we have to protect them and their water? How can they protest, so to speak, or just put on record that, hey, we have an issue with y'all. How can they communicate with us, right? That's the question. So Nick Winkleman is here, our Chief Operating Officer. He's going to answer the question because he's the one that's helping us develop it. We do have the answers for these things, and there is material, but let me have Nick go over it real quick.
Thank you. Nick Winkleman, Chief Operating Officer, Corpus Christi Water. So on our website, we've put together the mitigation plan, which was requested by the Corpus Christi ASR Conservation District. And as you stated, when I presented at the meeting last month, I did talk about the mitigation plan and our monitoring plan. So there's a couple of components. One, the city is offering a voluntary. We're asking residents if they want to participate in a voluntary program where the city will come out and take water level depth measurements and also do water quality testing free at no charge. That information will then be recorded, and it'll also be provided to the participating well owner or of a livestock or residential well. That program, of course, is voluntary. Any resident can collect that data themselves. They can get the water testing done themselves. And at that same district meeting, I presented some of the information that's important for documentation to record baselines. So we're looking for a static water level. And when I say static water level, the well pump should be not operating for a period of time. Ideally, it's for a day, for approximately 24 hours. If it's not, it should just be recorded how long that pump has been idle before the water level has been recorded. It's important to document other water quality information as well. Ideally, that information would be stored and recorded by a certified laboratory. All of that information is important to have. And I would recommend all well owners should have that wherever they're at. Anywhere in the state, anywhere in the country, they need to keep an eye on their water source. So all of that information is important to have and track. If any well owner believes they have a problem, they should reach out to us, 826-1600, and we will reach out to them, review the data they have, discuss the problem, observe it, and try and do our best to understand the cause. And then if there is an issue that's caused by the city well fields, we'll move forward on a correction method. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you, everyone, for coming today. This concludes our media briefing. Our next update will be held right here next Friday, May 1st at 10 a.m. A full recording of today's briefing will also be available on the city's YouTube channel a little bit later today for your reference. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to the Communications Department at communicationsdepartment@corpuschristitx.gov. As shown on the screens. And this concludes our briefing. Thank you for your time.